Right now, in driveways everywhere, an iOS update just quietly broke a feature you rely on. You don't know it yet. You'll find out tomorrow morning when you slide into the seat, plug in like you always do, and the screen sits there, blank, black. The little CarPlay icon that lived in the corner is gone, and where your maps and your music should be, there's nothing. But the head unit's own clumsy menu staring back at you. And the worst part? You did nothing wrong. Your phone updated overnight while it charged, and somewhere in that update, the handshake between your phone and your car came apart. Here's what I want you to know before you spend a single dollar. In a lot of cases, the fix costs nothing. No dealer visit, no new module, no $200 diagnostic fee for a problem that lives entirely inside a settings menu you've never opened. I'm going to walk you through exactly why these updates break CarPlay, and then the free steps that tend to bring it back, in the order I'd actually try them. Some of this Apple knows. Some of it your dealer knows too. They just don't always have a reason to tell you. So let's start with why. Because understanding the why makes every fix make sense, instead of you just poking at buttons and hoping. When your phone runs a major iOS update, it doesn't just change the wallpaper and add a few emojis, it rewrites permissions. Deep ones. The little agreements your phone made with your car, the ones that said, yes, this vehicle is allowed to show my maps, yes, it can read my messages aloud, yes, connect automatically when I get in. Some of those quietly reset to a default state. And the default isn't always on. Sometimes it's ask again. And if your car never gets around to asking, you get silence. It helps to understand what's actually moving under the hood here. CarPlay isn't one switch. It's a stack of little permissions layered on top of each other. Bluetooth pairing at the bottom, then a trusted device record, then a private network link, then the app display layer on top. A major iOS release, the jump from one whole number to the next, can touch every one of those layers at once. A smaller point update, the ones that land as a dot release, in the middle of the night, usually only nudges one. That's why some updates break nothing, and others wipe the slate clean. The size of the update tells you how deep the damage might run, and that's worth knowing before you start, because it tells you whether you're looking for a quick toggle or a full rebuild. Then there's the handshake itself. Picture two people who've shaken hands 1,000 times, who don't even look anymore, they just reach out and grip. That's your phone and your car on a normal day. An iOS update is like one of them suddenly using their left hand. The motion's almost right, but the timing's off, and for a second, nobody connects. Underneath that is cached data, old connection records stored on both the phone and the head unit. And when the new software expects a fresh record, but finds a stale one, it can choke. That cache mismatch is one of the most common reasons a wired connection that worked for 2 years suddenly does nothing. And here's the part most people miss about that cache. It doesn't only live on your phone. Your car keeps its own copy. The head unit has a small memory of every phone it has trusted, and that memory doesn't clear itself just because your phone got new software. So you can do everything right on the phone side and still hit a wall, because the car is holding on to an old record that no longer matches. That's why a fix that's purely phone side sometimes isn't enough, and why, a little later, I'm going to have you clear the car's side too. Keep that in your back pocket. Now here's where it gets interesting, because Bluetooth adds its own mess. A lot of wireless CarPlay setups lean on Bluetooth to start the conversation before Wi-Fi takes over the heavy lifting. When iOS updates the Bluetooth stack, old pairings can conflict with the new logic. Your phone thinks it's paired. Your car thinks it's paired. But they're describing two slightly different relationships. And that disagreement is enough to leave you stranded with a phone that pairs for calls, but flat out refuses to launch CarPlay. Stay with me, because the fix for that. One is almost embarrassingly simple, and it's coming up. There's also a setting most people forget exists. It's called Allow CarPlay while locked, and after some updates, it can flip or behave differently than it did. If your phone's locked in your pocket, and that permission isn't where it should be, your car may simply refuse to start the session until you wake the screen. People spend an hour convinced their cable's dead, when really their phone just wanted to be looked at first. We'll check that one too. Let me give you a real picture of how this plays out. because it's almost never dramatic. A driver I know updated overnight, climbed in the next morning, and wireless CarPlay just wouldn't appear. He spent the whole commute on the car's clunky built-in. Maps? Swearing the head unit had finally died after 4 years. Did the loud, expensive thing in his head already pricing out a replacement unit? The actual cause? His phone had been set to download updates automatically, the Bluetooth pairing had gone stale in the night, and the car was still holding the old trust record. 2 minutes of forgetting and repairing brought it all back. He'd been one menu away from a $1,000 mistake. That's the gap I keep coming back to. The fix is small, the fear is huge, and the fear is what gets monetized. And before anyone decides Apple did this on purpose, let's be fair. Compatibility here is genuinely hard. Apple is updating software for hundreds of phone models. The automakers are building head units that have to last 15 years. On the road, baking in firmware that was finished long before the latest iOS even existed. So your car's software is often running a half step behind your phone, sometimes more. And that lag is where a lot of these breaks live. Nobody's lying to you. The two halves of the system just age at completely different speeds. The gap is real. What's frustrating is how often the gap gets handed to you as a billable repair. And think about which side can actually move. Your phone updates itself silently on its own schedule whenever it feels like it. Your car's firmware almost never does. Most owners go years without a single head unit update because the update has to come through the dealer or a USB stick most people never make. So the phone keeps sprinting forward and the car stands still, and the distance between them only grows. That's not malice. That's just two products on completely different clocks, tethered together and expected to dance. When they fall out of step, you're the one standing in the driveway. So let's close it. For free. The first thing I'd try, and this resolves it more often than anything else, is forcing the permission to rebuild. On your phone, go into Settings, then General, then CarPlay. You'll see your car listed there, probably by name. Tap it and choose to forget this car. Then walk back to your vehicle, plug in, or trigger the wireless connection fresh, and let it set itself up from scratch like it's the very first time. Why does this work? Because you're wiping that stale agreement we talked about and forcing both sides to negotiate a brand new one under the new software's rules. The trade-off is small, but worth naming. You may lose a custom app layout you'd arranged, and you'll have to tap Allow again on a couple of prompts. 60 seconds of mild annoyance against a dealer invoice. Easy math. Now remember when I said the car keeps its own copy? This is where you clear it. After you forget the car on your phone, go into your head unit's own Bluetooth or connections menu and delete your phone from its list too. Then do both sides fresh. The exact path varies by vehicle, but it's usually under the phone or connectivity settings on the dash. The honest trade-off is that some systems make this menu surprisingly hard to find, and on a few, you may need the car in park with the engine running to even open it. But clearing both halves at once, instead of just the phone, is what finally fixes the stubborn cases where forgetting the car on your phone alone did nothing. You're matching a clean slate to a clean slate, which is the only thing the new software trusts. If that doesn't do it, the next step is resetting network settings, and I want you to take a breath before this one, because it has a cost. On your phone, Settings, General, then Transfer, or Reset, then Reset, then Reset Network Settings. This clears out every saved Wi-Fi password, every Bluetooth, pairing, every cellular preference. And that's exactly the point. Wireless CarPlay rides on a private Wi-Fi link between phone and car, and when that link's records are corrupted after an update, a clean wipe often restores it when nothing else will. The honest trade-off here is real. You'll have to re-enter your home and work Wi-Fi passwords afterward. So know them or have them handy before you tap that button. For a lot of stubborn wireless dropouts though, this is the step that finally makes the chime come back. Most owners never check this next one, and it trips up more people than you'd believe. Siri. CarPlay leans on Siri far more than it looks like it does. Voice routing, message dictation, and in some setups, the very permission framework that lets CarPlay launch at all. After certain updates, Siri can end up disabled or stuck in a half-on state. So go to Settings, then Siri, and make sure it's genuinely enabled and allowed when your phone is locked. If Siri's switched off, your car may quietly refuse the whole connection without ever telling you that's the reason. Flip it on, try again. It's free, it's 30 seconds, and it's the fix people kick themselves for not checking first. Now, the cable. Pay attention to this next one, because it's the one people regret skipping. If you're using wired CarPlay, and you've ruled out the software side, look at the cable itself. Really look at it. Run your fingers down to the end. That plugs into the phone. Feel for that worn, slightly frayed spot near the connector, where it's been bent 1,000 times backing out of the driveway. Cables degrade. The data lines inside fail long before the charging lines do, which is the cruel trick. Your phone still charges, so you swear the cable's fine, but CarPlay needs clean data, and that worn cable can't carry it anymore. An iOS update can be the final straw that pushes a marginal cable over the edge. Swap in a known good, Apple certified cable, one with the proper certification, not a gas station bargain, and try again. In many cases, the broken update was a dying cable all along, and the update just exposed it. And if you're wireless and still fighting it, here's a move worth knowing. Plug in. I mean it. Grab a good cable and connect wired, just once, even if you normally go wireless. A solid wired session can force the phone and car to re-establish their trust at a deeper level. And very often after that single wired connection, wireless starts working again on its own. It's a backdoor reset for the whole relationship. The trade-off is nothing more than digging out a cable for 5 minutes. Cheap insurance. There's one more free move that sounds almost too simple to mention, and yet it's the one that quietly resolves a surprising number of these, so don't skip it just because it's obvious. Restart both devices. Not the connection, the devices themselves. Power your phone fully off and back on. A real restart, not just locking the screen. Then do the same for the car, which on most vehicles just means switching it fully off, opening the door, walking away for a couple of minutes, and letting the electronics actually go to sleep before you start it again. Here's why this matters more than it looks. Both your phone and your head unit are little computers running dozens of background processes, and after a major update, some of those processes can get stuck in a half-loaded state, neither fully on nor fully off. A genuine restart flushes that stuck state and lets both sides boot clean, with the new software fully settled instead of half applied. Think of it as the difference between waking someone up mid-dream and letting them get a full night's sleep. The trade-off is nothing more than 2 minutes of your time, and there's a real chance you never have to touch any of the deeper steps at all. I'd honestly try this right after forgetting and repairing the car before you go anywhere near a network reset. It's the kind of fix that feels too easy to work, right up until it does. So here's the part the dealer doesn't lead with. Walk into a service department with CarPlay stopped working, and there's a decent chance you'll be quoted for a diagnostic, maybe a software reflash, sometimes a hint that the head unit itself is failing. And sure, once in a while it genuinely is the hardware, and a good shop earns its fee finding that. But far more often, the actual fix is one of the free steps you just learned, the same steps a technician would run before they ever touched a tool. You're not being scammed. You're being charged for knowledge that was always yours to use. That's the quiet gap in all of this. Not a conspiracy, just a thing that's easier to bill for than to explain. Now, a fair word of caution, because this matters. These steps vary by iOS version and by head unit. The menus move. The wording shifts between updates, and your car's system may label things differently than mine. So check your owner's manual for the specifics of your vehicle. And if you've tried everything here and the screen's still black, that's the point where a qualified technician earns the visit. Because then it may genuinely be firmware or hardware, and that's their job, not yours. No fix here is guaranteed to hold forever, but done. In order, these tend to hold, and they tend to hold for free. If this brought your CarPlay back, do me one favor. Send it to someone you know who's been cursing at a blank screen and reaching for their wallet. Save them the dealer trip. And if you want the next one, I'm putting together the fix for the other half of this headache. So, why your wireless CarPlay keeps dropping mid-drive even when it connects fine, and the one setting that quietly causes most of it. Subscribe so you catch it, and keep that knowledge where it belongs. With you.